James Callahan wasn't the kind of man people noticed anymore. Once, in Afghanistan, he had been a decorated sergeant, strong, commanding, fearless. Now, he was a single father of a 12-year-old girl, Emily, living paycheck to paycheck, working night shifts at a warehouse. His back ached from injuries. His mind wrestled with memories he tried to bury, and his only purpose left was raising Emily right. The morning of the trial, James wasn't supposed to be there. He had come only to contest a traffic fine, one of those trivial court appearances most people dreaded but endured. Emily was at school, and he figured it would take half an hour. But fate doesn't check schedules. As James sat quietly in the back row of the courtroom, waiting for his name to be called, he noticed a young woman walk in. Nervous, clutching a folder of documents against her chest. Her name, he would later learn, was Marissa. She was no criminal. She was fighting to keep custody of her little boy, after her ex, who had friends in powerful places, filed false reports against her. James had seen fear before, on the battlefield, in villages torn apart by war. But the fear in Marissa's eyes was different. It wasn't just fear of losing. It was fear of being silenced. The proceedings began, and immediately, something felt wrong. The judge, a heavy, set man with a stern face, barely looked at Marissa. The opposing lawyer sneered, throwing accusations without evidence, and every time Marissa tried to speak, the judge cut her off. Then it happened. When Marissa attempted to hand over her evidence, photos, text messages, proof of her ex's lies, the bailiffs rushed toward her. Instead of taking the documents, they grabbed her arms. She cried out, insisting she had the right to present her case. One of them shoved her hard against the table. Gasps rippled through the courtroom, but no one moved. People just stared, frozen in shock. Except James. In a flash, his training took over. He rose from his seat, crossed the aisle, and planted himself between the bailiffs and Marissa. His voice boomed, the kind of voice that once commanded soldiers. "That's enough! She's not a criminal. She has the right to be heard." The room erupted in chaos. The judge shouted for order. The bailiffs threatened to arrest James. But Marissa, trembling, clutched the documents to her chest and whispered, "Thank you." In that moment, James didn't see a stranger. He saw Emily, his daughter, years from now. Fighting alone, scared, without someone to protect her, and he knew he couldn't back down. What neither James nor Marissa knew was that this act of defiance was only the beginning. James was dragged out into the hallway, handcuffs biting his wrists, but the crowd inside had seen everything. Whispers turned to outrage. A woman shouted, "She has the right to speak!" Another man called out, "Why are you silencing her?" The energy shifted. People began standing up, voices rising in protest. For the first time, the judge looked unsettled. Meanwhile, Marissa gathered her courage. She stepped to the center of the courtroom and lifted her evidence high. Her voice cracked at first, but it grew stronger with each word. "This is proof of the lies against me. You cannot silence me. Not anymore." The courtroom doors burst open again. James, bruised but unbroken, had somehow convinced a sympathetic clerk to uncuff him, insisting he had a right to be present for his case. When he stepped back inside, the crowd erupted in cheers. His presence gave Marissa strength. The judge slammed his gavel, demanding silence. But it was too late. The courtroom no longer belonged to him. It belonged to the truth. In the commotion, something extraordinary happened. The state's oversight board representatives, who had been quietly observing cases that day, stepped forward. They had seen enough of the judge's corruption. Papers were served on the spot. The judge was suspended pending investigation. And then, in the most surreal twist of fate, the presiding officer turned to Marissa. "You've demonstrated integrity, courage, and a relentless pursuit of justice in the face of intimidation. Until a new judge is appointed, we need someone to continue this hearing lawfully. Ms. Marissa, will you assume the bench for this session?" The room fell silent. Marissa's hands trembled as she looked at James. His steady nod gave her the courage to step forward. Moments later, she was seated in the very chair from which she had been silenced. Her first words as acting judge: "Let the truth be heard." By the end of that day, Marissa's case was vindicated. She kept custody of her son. James walked free, no longer just a tired single dad, but a hero in the eyes of everyone who had witnessed what happened. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. James wanted no spotlight, no interviews. He just wanted to pick up Emily from school and tell her, "Do the right thing, even when it's hard." But Marissa stopped him before he left. "You didn't just save me," she said, tears streaming down her face. "You reminded me that justice isn't just about laws. It's about people willing to stand for one another." James smiled, the weight of years seeming lighter for the first time. "We all need someone in our corner. Today, I was yours. Tomorrow maybe you'll be someone else's." And with that, he walked away. Not as a soldier, not as a victim of his past, but as a father, a protector, and a man who proved that courage still matters.